Let's go.
Oh, yeah, and we're back. The beers are flowing, and we are here for week 2 of Wolfing Around. My name's El Divine, and with me, as usual, my good mate Scotty, who has had quite the week. Scotty, a little bit of an injury on the way here tonight.
Mate, yeah, I picked up a bit of frostbite walking here in this bloody frigid Toronto weather.
Oh, I hope it was your fingers.
Well, yeah, it was, but
Lucky,
thankfully I ran them under a bit of warm water after the walk, and they're feeling a bit better. And I imagine some of the Wolfpack boys would have done the same after those conditions they played in on Sunday.
That was quite the mud bath out there in Whitehaven.
And Whitehaven looks like an interesting place, but I'm not sure the Wolfpack guys will want to be back on that field anytime soon.
I don't think they'll have a chance, mate. I think they might have just, they've pretty much renovated the entire field. It's now just it's just mud. Maybe they're going to run one of those tough mudder competitions out of that next week.
Well, yeah, they'd have some experience. They'd probably win the race after what they had to go through in those tackles and just running up and down that field. Because I must say, I'm glad I wasn't out there. I'm glad I was in the pub watching from a warm area.
It was nice in there down at the Brazen Head as we did catch the game. It was minus 15 degrees outside. You couldn't tell it sitting inside, looking outside. It looked gorgeous. Blue skies, sun, and then when you actually walked outside, it was like walking into a freezer.
Very deceiving, that Toronto weather, isn't it? When you look outside and it's like, oh, what a great day. It's sunny. It's beautiful. Then you walk around and you bloody freeze your ears off.
You can lose a finger.
Imagine playing rugby league in that.
Oh, mate, you couldn't. You'd lose a thigh. I got some of these designer jeans that I got from a gig about 4 months ago. They've got those
the ones with the holes in them?
Yeah, they got the holes in them.
Yeah.
And I had to walk home on Friday night, and by the time I got home, my inner thighs were red raw.
Did you have your Wolfpack jersey on?
Haven't got one yet. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Wolfpack, looking at you.
Well, maybe we can get one of the souvenir ones from the game on Sunday, because you might still be crusted in mud.
Toronto mud pack, maybe.
I saw actually one of the mothers of the players.
Patent pending on that idea.
One of the mothers of the players was washing his boots.
That was one of the Whitehaven players, wasn't it? She was scrubbing the boots.
Well, no, I think it was actually... Was it one of the Whitehaven players? Or was it one of the Wolfpack players?
I saw the word man, but I forgot most of our boys are... There's quite a few English boys.
Pretty good deal for him. His mum still washes his boots after a game.
Right, that's...
Happy Sunday. Wash it before, you have the roast.
I hope he takes us up on last week's advice and gets us some VIP treatment to the tailgate.
Well, if anyone deserves season tickets, it's his mum. Because those boots were basically black.
They were gone, right? That was an interesting game to watch. A lot slower than we expected. I mean, you're not going to see 76-0 with that.
Well, I think we're all lulled into a bit of a false sense of optimism. Let's say after that London Scholars game, 76-0, we thought, oh, who are these nuffies we're playing against in England? But the Whitehaven boys showed that this is not going to be a walk in the park, or at least a walk in a nice grassy park. But I mean, there'd obviously been a bit of rain in Whitehaven over the last few days. Certainly not a lot of sun, but
you'll take the rain over the snow any day, right?
Well, yeah. In Toronto today, it's snowing, it's blizzarding. It's you walk around on the footpath, you slip over, so it's not much fun. But the game itself, early on, it was clear this was not going to be. There were not going to be a lot of tries in this game, so the Wolfpack boys, they had to stick with it early. There was some good kicking from the Whitehaven team early, pinning the Wolfpack down in their own territory. Some tough returns from QLT, the fullback, who no one really seems to want to say his name in full because I don't think they can pronounce it.
Well, you don't want to get it wrong.
Well, I'm not going to have a go at it.
No. Well, you're already in trouble for mispronouncing quite a few
yes,
things.
I think I actually mispronounced several English towns last week. Yeah, Siddle, apparently. A few other things as well, but
we'll put that in the apology
week
section.
1, you can only get better from here, right?
Yeah, that's right. And look, we wouldn't be Aussies if we didn't mispronounce regular things, right?
That's right, or abbreviate them.
We saw a bit of speed from the wingers on the weekend, which is fantastic. Like, considering the conditions are one thing, but Pownell put in a try, had a great break down the end there. I really like what the forwards are doing. Look, seeing ball control in those kind of conditions is fantastic.
Well, it's not easy, is it?
No, it's not.
To hang on to the pill, as they say,
yeah,
when it's being, it's wet and it's muddy. But speaking about the wingers, that's a good comment, I think, because Johnny Pownell scored a double in the 21st and the 68th minute. But one of the players that it's become a bit of an early fan favourite of ours is the number 5.
Oh.
I believe his name is Liam Kay. How would you describe how Liam looks when he's on the field?
Look, mate, I'm a happily married man. Have been for a couple of years now. Our nickname for that man is Sex on Legs. Because have you ever seen a man look that good running down the sideline? How about that hair, mate? He could be straight out of Game of Thrones.
Well, you don't see many man buns in rugby league, do you? But how good is it?
Oh, mate, even when the guy was covered in mud.
Well, I think that was where he really moved to the next level. Like, once he had a bit of mud on him, it was enthralling viewing.
As he runs in for the tries, we got the highlights on in the background, and to see at the right time the great man leap and take a diving. Make
it really is like
try
some
there.
Lord of the Flies type stuff here.
I do have quite a few contacts in the local modelling industry. Actually, my brother-in-law is a very well-known model around town.
Maybe we should get him on the podcast and ask him what it would take to get Liam Kay a modelling contract in Toronto, because let's face it, the first home games in May, there's a few brands out there, I think, who could use him as the front of their campaign. I mean, what sort of brands do you think in Toronto and Canada could use a guy like Liam Kay as, the front, to model for them?
That's a really good question.
I think maybe Hudson's Bay. You walk into...
or your Holt Renfrew.
Yeah.
You could also maybe Blue Jays.
What, the baseball?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I think he could do well with Josh Donaldson in maybe an episode of Vikings.
There you go. They're just mano a mano. I'd like to see the two of them on the front cover of the Toronto Star, back to back.
The bringer of rain and sex on legs. Doesn't get much better than that, does it?
He could have don't those who know put the mud packs on their face to really get that nice skin glow going on. Maybe we could tie something in there.
Do we have any reports on how the Wolfpack skin is looking the day after the game? Because I imagine it's looking quite good.
As tourists, as they head through these small towns, then maybe the boys are heading out having a couple of pints after the game.
I hope. Not too many.
Not too many. Maybe Miller Lite, something low in the.
They don't drink that shit in the UK, mate.
No, it's real good stuff, right? It's warm, but I guess it's got to be. For the single men of the team, I'm sure they're out there having some fun. Hey, I'm sure they're seeing that. After that, with their faces glowing, going to hit up the old Whitehaven pub. And
are there any pubs in Whitehaven, do you think?
Oh, I'm sure there's a ton of pubs. I did try to get in touch with Whitehaven this week, actually, the tourism board. I wanted to ask them what was up for a good night there.
And what'd they say? Didn't
get back to me, unfortunately.
Well,
but you know that fishing's good there, right? You pointed me in that right direction.
Well, I imagine it's on the coast, right? So if it doesn't have some good fishing, what else has it got going on?
I'm guessing it's going to be pretty windy down there if you were to throw a line in. Who would you have behind you keeping you from falling in the ocean?
Well, based on the conditions he's in, I'd have to say Craig Hall.
Oh, yeah?
Because looking at the triceps on that man from behind,
yeah,
he's basically just bulging out of that jersey.
He's your rod holder?
Yeah, I think. Fui's suspended at the moment.
He's got some time.
But he's probably not allowed around the team, or I don't know. How does that work?
I think he's trying to raise the 75 quid to...
the 75-pound pint?
It's not like a Monopoly where you can, is it Monopoly where you can pay the fine or take the suspension? He's got to do both, doesn't he?
Yeah, 75 pounds. I'm sure he can cover it.
75 pounds. What's that in Canadian money? It's getting close to.
It's probably about
170.
20 sausages at the sausage sizzle at the Den.
He's the suspension this week was pretty. Oh well, I guess it was last week's news really. As we got it through, he didn't fight it. He didn't fight the suspension. Didn't plead guilty early like some of the other players. I found that kind of interesting.
Well, let's face it. Fui is not the kind of guy who's just going to fold to public pressure. He's always been a man that is, he's a man of principle. Whether he was representing Parramatta, Tonga, New Zealand, the Least Centurions, the Toronto Wolfpack, if someone tells him he has to plead guilty, he's not going to plead guilty.
No.
He just, the arm might have slipped up.
He's no lackey.
That's right. And at the end, he was suspended for 3 weeks. Unfortunate. But the team got by without him all right, and he'll be back in a couple of weeks, and he's probably enjoying a bit of fishing in Whitehaven right now.
So the charge was reduced from a grade D as the committee saw the tackle as reckless, not intentional, 3-match ban, as we know, there was a ton of other suspensions around the league. Actually, that week, a bunch of them took the early guilty plea.
Were you at the judiciary, were you?
Yeah, I found it very interesting. I did want to have a little bit of a look at this. I wanted to see, what was happening. Fui was the big news. That's the one that hit Twitter. That's the one that was on the, that we saw a lot of. Then I had a look at, what else was going on out there.
And what did you find?
And I found some really... In some of these games, we've got players pleading guilty to grade F kicking, running and punching.
Isn't that basically the whole game of rugby league?
Not if you play it right, and not if you play it for the kids and for the mums.
Well, that's good to remember.
Some of these guys, and I don't want to name names or, besmirch any clubs, but let's just say that...
Just make sure you pronounce them right.
Well, I'm not going to name them at all.
Okay.
But I'm actually just going to tell you what they did. Grade D, running in and punching. Running in and punching. There was a lot of running in and punching. Now, that's interesting because what if you were running in and grabbing and throwing a guy off one of your guys, being a teammate, being a team player,
You'd be playing Aussie rules football then.
and then you punched him?
Well, it's just part of the game, isn't it?
We're not all about the violence. It's a game of heated moments. But I do not like the guy that maybe I'm not getting the full report here and didn't see the game. But if you're going to run in and punch, make sure it's clean. Make sure it's one-on-one, Don't be hitting anyone in the back of the head. Don't be doing anything silly like that. And if you're looking after a teammate, I'm on the side of that.
But it's a bit like hockey, right? Or ice hockey, as they call it in other parts of the world. Two blokes, they've got their eyes on each other. They want to square up. They drop the gloves and they have a punch on. The referees just stop and watch, make sure nothing silly's going on.
Grab a Timmy's. Have a look.
Grab a Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Why not?
Maybe
but
share
I'm
some
sure,
tidbits.
When these suspensions have come through, maybe things have just got a little bit out of hand.
It is these are guys that have jobs during the week. Maybe they're just taking it all out on the field.
Well, that's one of the great things about rugby league. And
semi-professional rugby league, if you will, at least.
And that's one of the interesting things for me is that you saw an interview with the Wolfpack owner, Eric Perez, during the week on BBC Breakfast in the UK. And what about the media blitz from Eric Perez during the week? He was everywhere.
Oh, it's great. It's really good to see. From all corners, Wolfpack was out the front.
Well, that's it. And the UK press really picked up. I saw a story on Al Jazeera about them. Al Jazeera, there was a picture of a journalist wearing a Wolfpack jersey on the Great Wall of China. Like, who would have thought that 6 months ago? I bet John Tory didn't when he launched the team.
Shout out to the marketing agency that got that done. That's absolutely fantastic.
Some great stuff. But
no, it's good to see them out there in the in the ethos, like starting to make a bit of impression. We're getting a lot of really fantastic engagement of people out there from all over the world, actually, from Australia, from Canada, from the UK.
A couple of French guys as well.
A couple of French guys. Awesome. That's fantastic.
Probably actually Canadians. They just lived in French Canada. So
that could be true. It is really nice to see that the word is spreading. Around the leagues, what did we see this week? We saw the results, not as many hammerings, which was kind of nice.
Well, I don't know what results you were looking at, but I'm looking at a couple here in the Kingston Press League 1, and there were a couple of floggings. Can we just go over them briefly?
I'm looking. Yes.
The much famed Hunslet Rugby League Football Club gave the Hemel Stags a 58-10 thrashing.
No, that's a big one.
And Doncaster, who I actually think Doncaster could be an interesting game for the Wolfpack. They beat the North Wales Crusaders 44-8. And the Barrow Raiders, named after our counterparts of our team back home, the Canberra Raiders, gave the Coventry Bears a touch-up 50-14. So I'm not sure what results you were looking at there, El, but
I was looking at last week's results.
Right, okay. Well, maybe you're looking at the
my researcher has just been sacked.
But a team that I'm looking forward
to... It's actually me at 4 a.m. when I'm doing this stuff.
Right, okay. Well, that really says it all. But
it sure does.
One of the teams I'm looking forward to playing, and I'll have to check on the schedule when the Wolfpack are playing them, is the University of Gloucestershire All Golds. Now, that kind of sounds like an interesting name to you.
The All Golds.
The All Golds.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I believe it's an All Blacks logo. The New Zealand rugby team just made gold. Do you think there's some kind of copyright infringement there?
Do we? Look, we don't want to throw them under the bus.
Well, we will when we play them.
Oh, absolutely. Throw them under the bus.
Throw them under Fooey.
Throw them under Lamport, mate. That's what's going to happen. Look, it's tough when you're these small teams, battling to get by every week. I did hear some conversations about the other teams and getting around. Yeah, these teams, they don't have tons of money, but they've got lots of heart. That's for sure.
Oh, they got a lot of heart.
Wolfpack's doing the best job they can here. Absolutely, this is fantastic to get them in, get them involved. Some of these guys have to miss work. A lot of, and we know from that grassroots level of rugby league of that you got people working for free. So your graphic designer might be working for free. Graphic designer might be on the team.
How many graphic designers have played rugby league before? Do we know this?
I don't have the numbers on that, but
I can't think about there being too many.
No, and see that's probably what it's come down to. You've got your front row forward sitting there, on Google, and he's just Googling how to make a rugby league logo, and he's just had to take one that's already out there. Well, he's taken a union one and just and flipped it, mate. Just hit the gold filter. And he's presented at the president, and the president's like 90 years of age, and he's just gone, mate, this is brilliant. How'd you come up with this? How did you know we love the fern over here?
Well, the best ideas out there aren't original ideas. They're, good ideas repackaged up and presented in a different way. So
Mate,
I think that's
you could run a seminar on marketing, mate. I didn't know you had that sort of insight.
But just back to the game, just briefly, 24-10. What a performance from the Wolfpack. It was not easy, as we said, like it perhaps was against the Scholars the week before, but I think they showed their mettle. It's not easy to be...
And their physical conditioning. It takes a lot to run around in mud. I mean, that's tough.
And not being able to change jerseys at half time.
No. Well, it was really hard there towards, even to the halfway point. It was really hard to tell who was who.
Well, the funny thing was, for those watching the game, that the Whitehaven boys were wearing the white jerseys, which we were last week against the Scholars. And about 5 minutes into the game, I can tell you they weren't white anymore. But it was interesting seeing players come on because you could certainly tell how long they'd been on the field by how much white they had remaining on their jersey.
Couldn't see the blood either. Unlucky.
I don't think there was a lot of blood. Or there was a bit of a fight early on. Did you see that?
There was a bit of biffo. That was great. You showed me the highlights. I wasn't there live. What was your take on it?
Well, there was a bit of... The Wolfpack were about 5 metres out, looked like putting in the first try, and there was a bit of niggle in the tackle, and one of the Wolfpack players took exception to it, and actually he threw the ball at one of the other Whitehaven blokes.
Did he falcon him?
He hit him in the back of the head.
Oh, the falcon.
And the certain Whitehaven player didn't take too kindly to that, and there was a bit of fisticuffs.
Well, it's rugby.
Well, that's it. As I said, you saw on the interview from Eric Perez, he said... a bit of biff is what it's about, and he thinks that's what Canadians are like. And I must say, when we're at the pub watching it, the crowd really took an interest in the game at that point. I mean, they really got on the edge of their seats as they were scoffing down their breakfasts and their coffee. Yeah,
there was. It's nice to see a little bit of action in a otherwise a slow game. The guys really slugged it out. We were lucky enough to have our friend Kev come down and join us on the weekend. Actually bought a new recorder this week, so we could get these live moments.
How much does that cost us?
It wasn't cheap, put it that way.
And am I going to have to pay for this?
You are down for 50% of the cost, and it's a...
Can you write that off on tax?
Possibly. Have we incorporated this business yet?
I'm not sure, but let's just keep the expenses to a minimum, all right? This is, rugby league after all.
I'm pretty sure we spent more on pizza and wine, but just to get these things recorded... I did have a little bit of a chat to Kev.
What did he have to say?
Well, here it is. Let's check it out as we bring it forward.
78 minutes gone here. Wolfpack up 24-4. It's a fait accompli at this point, I think, that the game is as it's winding down. We're here with one of our good Canadian mates who really helped us assimilate into Canadian culture, Kev. Kev, what made you get involved in wanting to watch the Toronto Wolfpack and Rugby League?
It was, first of all, thank you. It was exciting to get on the ground floor with a team. I really respect you as an athlete, so something that you were passionate about seemed like it would be something I would enjoy quite a bit as well.
Well, you respect me as an athlete. Can we just clarify that point? Because I would consider myself more of an armchair critic than an athlete.
I don't know if you're fans know this, but you're a talented disc athlete.
Okay, moving on. We don't need to talk about that. So, Rugby League, what are your early impressions of it thus far? Obviously, we've had a couple of games here, one in the mud today, one on a good track last week against the Scholars. What are the main things that you've noticed about the game so far that have appealed to you?
Speed, aggression, physical toughness, and then today, just the mud. The mud has been great. It's a game changer. Makes the game unpredictable, fun to watch. I really like those aspects of it. Well,
it's a really great chance to talk to Kev. What was that about disc that he was bringing up?
I don't know what he's talking about. To be
You know
honest.
what he's talking about. Disc golf, mate. We love it.
No, well,
That was last summer's hobby, right? Oh, well, we love a bit of disc golf, but this year it's going to be all
it's going to be rugby league.
We're going to have to take a couple of footies down there and really show the locals how to pass it around. Really nice to have him down there. He's really shout out to Kev. He's loving the game.
Well, it's great to hear a Canadian voice and their perspective on the game because, let's face it, we grew up with the game. So we know what it's all about. But to hear a Canadian's perspective, I mean, that is what is going to allow the game to flourish here if the Canadians, really embrace it, really take on what it's all about. And I think Canadians, as we spoke about, can see some things in the game that really appeal to them. It's the physicality. It's the just having a go mentality. It's there's so many things about it, I think, that relate to Canadians. And Kev, he's got a long way to go on his rugby league journey, but I think he's intrigued and he's off to a good start.
Here's a little bit more that we got from Kev down at the game.
in hockey, people really respect where I'm from. They really respect aggression and hitting. So I feel like the physical aspects of this game will be popular with Canadians. And then just people that try really hard. I think it's a gritty game. Gritty, like getting off the field, just doing it.
And the game is just finished and wrapped up here. The applause all around, and the Wolfpack have been victorious. Final score at the recreation ground, 24-10.
Recreation ground, a place I would like to see one of these days out there in fine Whitehaven.
Well, I'd like to see him get a sponsorship deal, quite frankly, because if the London Scholars can get a beer, surely the recreation ground can get something, because it's a pretty boring name, let's face it.
I did a bit of research on Whitehaven myself actually this week.
What did you find? I'm intrigued.
Yeah, didn't realise how north Whitehaven was. Went and did a little bit of research. Can I indulge you, Scotty?
I'd love to hear about Whitehaven because, to be honest, all I saw was a muddy pitch.
Whitehaven is pretty much a stronghold in the area of the British Rugby League system, and their mascot.
Oh, they've got a mascot.
We're speaking mascots again. Their mascot is a lion. Guess what the lion's called?
Larry? It's not Larry, is it?
It's not. It's
Larry the lion.
It's not. It's actually called Pride.
The Pride Lion.
We should get him down here for Pride this year.
Why? So why is he called Pride the Lion though?
Well, because a lion, they're in a pride. That's like a gang of lions. It's called a pride.
Like, so we're like a wolf pack and they're like a pride of lions.
That's right.
Is it the Whitehaven Lions?
I'm
testing your research here, aren't I?
It could be, yeah. I didn't go into that. I'm guessing so.
They're
probably not the Whitehaven Ducks.
Well, then they'd be the Mighty Ducks. Or the Muddy Ducks after last weekend. But I would have thought a team like Whitehaven, aren't they on the water? They're a fishing village or something like that?
That's right. They actually have a maritime festival every year. I was looking, what's going on in Whitehaven.
What'd you find?
In 1999, they kicked that off, and they have it every 2. It was every 2 years now. It's every year. This is straight off Wikipedia, folks. Look, it's
you
it's
really
not the
did
most
your
exciting.
research.
I really want to get to a really big point. Something that I did find in my research here is the notable people that come from Whitehaven. Not a lot of them. Politician from Australia that,
We don't care about that.
Nah, one of them.
Especially if they're a politician.
He was born there. The guy that wrote the song for Cher.
Do you believe in love?
That's it.
Really?
Believe. Do you believe in love?
We have to get the autotune out.
I'm not allowed to actually play it because then we'll get pulled off
We're
SoundCloud
not going
or
to get ripped
iTunes.
off just for that, are we?
No, we're going to be fine because I was totally out of key. But he's from Whitehaven.
What are his other hits?
He did one for Danny Minogue.
Oh, no one's going to... Oh, the Poms might know who that is.
Yeah.
The English, sorry.
Kylie's sister. Yeah, she did all right.
We're really losing the Toronto audience at this point.
They're open to new ideas and new thoughts. Anyway, Whitehaven.
Mudhaven, as you call it, at one point as well.
Yeah, maybe that's why the tourism board didn't
We're never
get
going
back
to be
to
allowed
me.
to go there now. People of Whitehaven, just quickly, we would love to come and visit at some point, watch a bit of rugby league. And apparently I heard during the broadcast on Game TV via Premier Sports is that there was some locals giving the Wolfpack players a bit of sledging, as we'd say in Australia, or trash talk, as they'd see in North America, or a bit of chirping. And I was watching the broadcast. One of the commentators said, well, actually, it'd take too long to explain what the fans were saying to a Canadian audience. So I wonder what they were saying.
Do you think we're going to see some of these guys coming over for these games and middle of summer coming in and checking out Toronto?
I think they're going to love Toronto. I mean, all the things that we can take players to do here. We can take for some Caesars, take them for some poutine. You can take them up on a little bit of a trip to see some moose up at Algonquin National Park.
Not guaranteed.
Well, the stories I've heard about moose up there are actually pretty scary. You can just run into them while you're canoeing through a river somewhere.
Maybe we send up Fui as a personal bodyguard, moose guard, if you will.
Do you think Fui's been into cottage country yet?
Maybe not.
I think he'd enjoy it up there.
I think
Probably
he'd love
spent a bit of time in New Zealand, similar landscapes in the North Island.
They got some quite big deer up there.
Yeah, have you seen them?
I've seen the Kiwi Bushman take down a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get him on a bit of a man tracker type mission, maybe up in Northern Ontario.
Fui tracker.
Why not? But I think, in all seriousness, the players are going to enjoy their time in Toronto. I mean, if you're a lot of these guys from England might not have been to Canada before.
My thought is it's not just the players, it's the fans. So when let's look at the game. When you have these smaller stadiums and these, we didn't really get to see who was on one side of the film. It's a single camera, maybe a dual camera operation. It's all run from the same side of the field. We're not
good broadcast.
This is not NFL with your cameras, screaming over the top of the players. This is the perfect opportunity for these people who live in Whitehaven, who live in Oxford, who live in these smaller areas to come down and check out Toronto this summer. Wouldn't that be worth it? If you followed the team, you'd come down, you'd fly, almost with the team, maybe on the same flight.
Air Transat?
Yeah.
Get a good deal on Air Transat?
Yeah. The guy could be your electrician. It could be like, hey, Steve, what are you doing? It's like, oh, well, I play for Whitehaven and we got to go to Toronto in a couple of weeks. Like, well, mate, can I come with you?
Why not?
Bring the family, check it out. What do you know about Toronto? He's like, I don't know. Heard there's moose. Heard Fui takes you on a tour guide.
I'm sure there's still a few houses that need to get power back after the ice storm a couple of years ago. So
everybody wins. Yeah, do a little bit of a side hustle. That's how you survive in this town, right?
Well, that's right. Canada accepts all. And that's one of the great things about this town, Toronto, and the whole country. Very diverse place, very accepting of all people. And let's get the Northern English over here. Let's get them, to a rugby league game. Let's get them to a Jays game. Let's get them across to the island and play a bit of disc golf.
We are pretty excited about the home opener. It's coming up pretty soon. We had a walk around Lamport Stadium the other day while the dome was still up. We had to walk around the halls of the place.
Should we just explain that dome concept to people quickly who perhaps don't live in Canada and don't know what we're talking about?
This is really interesting. For the first time, you see this as someone who lives in hot weather or moderate weather and then moves to somewhere like this. You've got this dome that they put up over the fields. I still really don't quite understand how they put it up. It's
kind of like an inflatable looking.
It looks inflatable, that's for sure.
Sort of somewhere you'd live.
Frame.
Somewhere you'd have to live during a nuclear war or something like that.
Yeah, it's a massive tent. It's a massive, large tent that sort of fits like three of those 3 football fields.
Three mini
football fields. Quite an interesting thing. That's what you got to do here. That's how you can continue to play sports.
That's how you play sports in
winter.
How you do it. Because otherwise people are just sitting inside just watching Netflix all the time.
It looks like almost like there's a rave to be held inside, maybe some sort of foam party or something like that. As I walk past the other, I always think maybe there's just something going in there that I should be checking out. We did pop in the other day.
We did.
It was, it was just full of soccer players, really.
Well, yeah, it was people playing their rec league soccer in the winter, but we did notice that there was a surface in there, and we're curious, is that the surface that the Wolfpack are going to be playing on? Is that the natural Lamport Stadium surface? Because there was actually a bit of a hill in the middle of the field, and it makes me think,
a bit of an incline to the middle, wasn't it?
Is there going to be a hill at Lamport Stadium? Perhaps people who've already played there, maybe for some certain sports, would be able to tell us. But I think if the Wolfpack keep dominating this competition, is there an opportunity perhaps to let maybe the Wolfpack run uphill for the whole game and the opposing teams to run downhill, just maybe to even it up a little bit.
Just to even it up a touch.
Because we want to see competitive football, right? And
are you saying we're just going to flog every single team that we play
I'm
against?
not saying that, but I'm just saying let's have some measures in place if things are getting a little bit out of hand. Because if
what about like multi-ball? Like where you throw like...
just get the touch judges to throw footballs on the field?
You throw about 3 more footballs on. And just...
Yeah, but then we're just going to score 3 times as many tries. I don't know if that's going to work. I'm just thinking, I think, we'll get some competitive games out at Lamport Stadium. But actually, interesting point for me is we talked about the turf surface. and how would that be for players? And we actually talked to an ex-player down at the pub on Sunday, and he said it's actually like being a wrestler a little bit. It's like WWE, because when you get tackled, you just bounce back up.
Off the AstroTurf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, he said, it's just like, it's fun. It's like you get tackled, Philly's just going to get tackled, and then it's going to be, 200 odd pounds bouncing back up, ready to play the ball. So maybe it's not such a bad thing after all.
I mean, it's the only way to do it, really. I mean, it is turf is one thing, but look, man, we just saw what happens at Whitehaven when you get a bit of rain, right? It just turns into it does slow the game down. You don't get as much action as you want when everyone's, trudging through. You also got that, you could get injured when you are trudging through that mud and that muck. What I really like about when we got down and checked out the stadium the other day was that I love an open air stadium, man. I think that's just that's the way to go when it comes to sports. We've been stuck at the Blue Jays Stadium and the roof's closed.
When the roof's closed, it's not much fun.
It's just not much fun, mate. It's almost like watching the game in a cinema.
Yeah, it's like being in a big living room and you can't get out.
Yeah, this is really interesting. There's a Friday Night Lights feel down there in terms of it's open. I don't know. For me, I'm really looking forward to the first game. We don't want to push it too much, but just to see it like stand next to it, this is a solid stadium, and I think we're going to pack it. I know. I've got a lot of friends coming.
Well, you've basically invited half the DJ community from Toronto, haven't you? It's going to be.
As we mentioned last week, the timing is great. 4:30 in the afternoon is just money. It's great for a lot of people, particularly work in the industry, who can come out and check a game and then head off to their gigs after that. A lot of people have been asking us questions, personally, and then on Twitter about what to expect, and are pretty hyped about this. In terms of hype, do you think we're going to see some celebrities down at the game that might help boost the profile?
I think there's a huge opportunity and a huge want for Toronto-based celebrities to come out and see this product. I mean, do you think there's a coincidence that Drake hasn't been at a Raptors game recently?
Oh, you think he's been warming up for this one?
Well, maybe there's a bit of a deal done with the Wolfpack.
Do we want Drake down there?
I think we do. I mean, Drake has a very kind of rugby league feel about him to me. Strikes me as maybe a bit of a scheming dummy half.
Oh yeah, just chucking dummies.
Just throwing dummies around, around the ruck.
Yeah.
I think he'd love to get down and he's going to want to check it out. And let's face it, I actually know that there's a real estate expo in Toronto next weekend, which I've been seeing advertised all over the Toronto subways, and Pitbull's going to be in town next week. It's a shame,
Mr. Worldwide.
Well, it's a shame there's no home game, because I think Pitbull would love to come down and check out some rugby league, especially being the Wolfpack.
That would be a score, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, but there's other Toronto celebrities that I think are going to want to come down. What's the guy from Rush that lives here again?
Oh, Geddy Lee.
Yeah, he'll love rugby league.
Saw him the other week, actually.
He's going to be thirsting for some rugby.
I think some of your Toronto is a bit of a hard rock town as well. I mean, I was thinking about as well, from the music and what are people going to enjoy. This is a hard rock town. I think you're going to see some hard rockers. Some of the boys from down at the Bovine Sex Club, some of the people who hit the Horseshoe Tavern, your old rock sorts. Like this is the cup of tea, right?
On a Saturday afternoon, it doesn't get much better.
Because it's not really messing with anything else, is it?
And then you go out and you play your gig afterwards.
you go and shred like 3 hours later. Oh, sell some tickets at the game. I'm sure they won't mind.
And you know what I liked actually looking at the news coverage of the London Scholars game last week, is that they had a Bryan Adams tribute band at half time. I mean, they really rolled out the red carpet for the Canadian audience. I wonder if there was a bit of Summer of '69 played.
Well, if there wasn't, then they probably haven't done their
maybe
job
a
right.
Summer of 76 to nothing.
What you didn't catch the name of the band, did you at all?
No, I don't know what they were called, and I imagine it was hilarious. But there apparently was, and they were playing actually on the running track to the crowd. It was on the Al Jazeera report that I saw about the first Toronto Wolfpack League game.
So having a quick look online, it looks like they're called Real Adams.
Real spelt R-E-A-L?
Yeah.
Funny that.
They're young fellas. Oh, they're getting it done. Real Adams, tribute band for Bryan Adams. one of the most talented singers, musician, and photographers of his time. I like that they brought in his
Well,
photography
he's obviously
work.
not that talented if he's playing in a Bryan Adams cover band.
No, Brian Adams is actually a talented photographer.
Oh, of course, yeah.
He released a book a while ago.
Right,
He does
okay,
things. He's good. Mate.
He'd
Shout
love
out-
rugby league.
Shout
wouldn't
out
he?
to Brian.
Where does he live these days?
Brian Adams?
Yeah,
Um,
probably on the West Coast somewhere.
Probably in my mum's dreams, I think, mostly.
What about Michael Bublé? I think he'd like rugby league.
He wouldn't. I think he'd like the showmanship of it mostly.
Yeah, I think he's.
I think he'd like the story that the game tells.
What about the Beebs?
The Beebs?
Beebs would love rugby league.
What if
wouldn't
he got Bieber down to the game?
Oh,
He doesn't mind, like, he doesn't, there's a young guy who doesn't mind kind of stepping to bigger guys and trying to have a little bit of go, I think maybe rugby league could be his game.
I reckon he'd try and take Fui down in a balls and all tackle.
Oh, mate, they would.
The fourth round of the Challenge Cup this Friday, so the Kingston Press League 1 takes a break, for those who weren't aware, for our game against the London Broncos. And the London Broncos are actually in a league above us, and a lot of us were really looking forward to watching that game. You know why, El?
Why is that?
Because it's Friday night footy.
Oh, my God, it is too.
Friday night footy in the UK, which means it's on at about 2 p.m. in, is that right? 2 p.m. in Toronto, 5 hours behind. Something like that. Or maybe it's Friday afternoon footy. I don't know. Either way, we're looking forward to watching it. But unfortunately, unlike the last round of the Challenge Cup, where the BBC streamed the game against Siddle, which I pronounced correctly for the first time, they're not showing it.
How are we?
What do we think about this?
I mean, how are we going to get access to this
Does
game?
the BBC want to grow the game worldwide? Or are they too busy collecting their fees from all their UK subscribers to really care?
Look, I don't know if we want to take out Foster's and BBC in our first
probably
two,
BBC's
first
a big
two
one to go
podcasts.
after. We might not want to do that.
Mate, I don't think we're going to win that, considering we're already $400 in the hole after I bought this microphone, and make it $500 after the pizza and beer. Look, I would like to see the game. I don't know how we're going to get this sort of action this weekend. I've seen a little bit of stirrings online. What can we do here? I mean, I feel like, in the territory that we're at, being a low budget, no expense sort of podcast
Well,
here.
not after you bought that recorder.
Yeah, that's right. Can we barter something? Can we get someone locally in London to cover the game for us? I mean, look at these phones these days. Every 5 seconds, I'm getting a live notification on Facebook that someone's gone live. Can't we get a boy in?
Can we get
or
a
girl?
Periscope? Someone do a Periscope broadcast?
Let's get someone down there with the selfie stick, or and down at the game, at the Broncos game. I mean, let's shout out straight away to the London Broncos fans out there. Can one of you help us out? The Toronto fans here really want to see the game.
We would love to see the game, and it's a shame that the momentum's built after these first two results, and obviously the Challenge Cup game against Siddle. This is a big game for us.
It is.
If we win in the fourth round, I don't know what comes after that. I assume it's the fifth round. Might be the quarterfinals. but
if Australian schooling did you right, it will be.
Yeah,
the fifth
well,
round.
it was a tough slog at sometimes. But I want to see what London's got to give us, because I feel like after watching our first few games that we're gonna have a good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the best test that we've seen so far. I am seeing online that we might be able to get some radio coverage.
Right.
Some online radio
Are
coverage.
we being asked to do the broadcast?
No. Do you think we'd get asked to commentate the game after the
Well, I
highlights?
feel like we do an all right job, but I must say I've got a little bit of a player from the London Broncos I'd like to call out, if I may.
Oh,
How do you feel about that?
I'm good with that, as long as you're friendly.
Well, there's a little bit of background here. So the London Broncos have obviously got some non-English players playing for them. And I saw on their Twitter page and some of their other media, they've been promoting a player known by the name of Jared Samet. Now, those of us who are familiar with the NRL in Australia back home know that he played for the Penrith Panthers in the NRL for a number of years and was known somewhat for his quite extravagant sort of hairstyle, facial hair looks. El, you familiar with the old peroxide hair, little goatee kind of look? The brown goatee.
I believe when I moved to Newcastle when I was about 15, I didn't have the goatee. Still don't have the goatee. Couldn't grow a beard to save my life, but I did have the blonde hair. Didn't work for me. Is it working for him?
Well, I don't believe you ever had facial hair, and you still don't. So let's not go down that path. But there's been a lot of talk from the Broncos about how well Jared's going over his first few games. But I got one thing to say to you, Jared. The Wolfpack are coming for you. And if you think this is going to be another walk in the park in your little Kingston Press League, then watch out, because Paul Rowley and the boys have got plans for you. And
wow, that's tough. That's tough.
And I got to say, this is not Penrith Panthers on a Friday night.
Did Penrith beat Balmain back in the day, and like you just haven't got over it, or what?
No,
What's going on here?
I feel like
there's
maybe a little bit of bravado that's not quite deserved at this point of the season.
A bit showy, is he?
Yeah. And the Wolfpack, we won't talk about the Wolfpack. Won't talk about this. They'll just go about and do their jobs. They'll play in the mud. They'll play in the sun. But if Jared Sammett's out there on Friday, he better watch out, because the Wolves are coming.
The Wolves. Well, not really the Wolves.
The Wolfpack.
The Wolfpack.
And as Eric Perez and the rest of the team have said, the Wolfpack, we work together.
That's great.
And I just feel like he should watch himself this week, because once we play those boys, he might think again about being so showy.
I do appreciate the the call out. It is brave. What do you do when he comes over here to play?
Well, we're going to give him heaps from the sidelines.
No. I mean, when he literally comes here like 2 blocks away from your house and finds you and shows you how showy he is.
He's not going to know who I am.
No?
I'm just,
he won't hear you from the sidelines?
Behind the mic.
Yeah, no.
I'll be safely tucked away in the wolf den.
We won't. Yeah, we won't stick out like sore thumbs at the game, will we, mate?
No, there's plenty of Aussies here. But
yeah.
no, Jared Sammett, wish you all the best, mate, on your game on Friday, but not too much luck.
Just tone it down, apparently. That's what he's saying. Other news this week, we had, this was really cool. We saw the teacher who was sharing the game.
Well, early candidate for Teacher of the Year award. So there was a tweet on the official Toronto Wolfpack Twitter page of a teacher in Toronto showing his kids the Scholars game, just sitting down with the VHS and letting him
classic. I hope maybe he's a substitute teacher. That's the classic.
Well, he probably will be after that. But how good is that?
That's brilliant.
A Canadian teacher. I mean, there has been a few teacher strikes here recently. What about next time there's a teacher strike? Just get old mate down. Just show him videos of the Wolfpack all day.
That's the way to go. I mean, back in the day, what was the movie you always got shown? When that substitute teacher came in, or it was just a day when the teacher just didn't care less. I used to see a bit of like Labyrinth or Willow or something like that. They used to drop those sort of things. This would just be great. Now the fill-in time, teacher, he's gone out, he's got pissed as hell the night before. He turns up to work.
Let's not cast aspersions.
Oh no,
on his character.
not this particular guy.
Right, okay,
I'm just saying in general. Maybe your next person who wants to take it. But look, if you're a teacher out there, and all respect, we love your work. Thanks very much. You do a great job. But let's say you do hit the Terps really hard the night before, and you turn up and you're just like, you know what? I don't feel like teaching today, and you just throw on the Wolfpack game.
Well, the kids are going to learn a lot.
The kids are going to learn.
They're going to learn what a 3-man tackle is.
I mean, you're going to have to guide them a little bit. Maybe get on the chalkboard if they still got chalkboards. God, we showing our age here.
I mean,
whiteboard.
It's public schools.
Is it a massive iPad these days?
No, I think they'd have a chalkboard.
So get on the chalkboard and you just you show the positions and that sort of thing. Then sit down, pop a couple of Tylenol, and the kids are going to learn. They're going to learn something. I mean, back in my day, they just put a video on that I'd seen 100 times, and I didn't really care for it. And I just used to chat to Bruce Murray.
Well, if the teacher had come in and shown you, a game of rugby league, a good game of rugby league, how good would that have been?
Would have been great. You know what I would have appreciated, because we could see rugby league on TV there. Maybe they could have shown me a baseball game or a lacrosse game, something I didn't know much about.
Well, I still don't understand lacrosse, and it's apparently one of the national sports of Canada. So
It
if
is.
anyone out there can explain it to me.
Shout out to Toronto Rock. Got a lot of love for those guys. Seen a couple of games, really enjoyed it. This week we also saw an alternative jersey selected for the Wolfpack, and I really liked the way that they engaged everybody online to pick this one. Scotty, what did you think?
Well, it was very red, which I guess most Canadian teams feel they got to have.
You got to have a bit of red, mate. You can't just go black and white all the time, can you?
I don't know. I was kind of liking the black and white.
This is our alternative jersey. It's, this is your alternative.
When are we going to wear it? When there's too much mud? Maybe next time? And we can still see each other?
You're really not going to see the blood if you're just wearing the red button either.
Maybe they'll wear it... I don't know where they're going to wear it. Can someone from the Wolfpack tell us when we'll be wearing the alternate jersey? Maybe it's in a Challenge Cup jersey that we'll be wearing this Friday.
That would be brilliant. I mean, we won't see the pictures. Well, hopefully we'll see the pictures. They do have some good photos going around. I have been enjoying them. particularly that picture that we saw of Liam Kay coming out of the mud like just a bloody, stone
creature from the
yeah.
Was it
Black Lagoon?
Something lagoon.
A stoned Adonis.
I don't know. It was something. It certainly gave me a twinge. In all the right places.
Well, that's another comprehensive wrap-up of week 2 on Wolfing Around, Scotty.
I don't know how comprehensive it was, but it was a lot of fun.
Wasn't too bad. We've very lucky this week. We had a couple of tickets to give away, and we're actually going to have a couple more.
Well, that's it. We'll be throwing out a few tickets on Twitter, a few questions, maybe a few chances for people to show their fandom for the Wolfpack. So we gave some tickets away to James Hurd, I believe his name was last week.
Congratulations to James. Englishman
living in Etobicoke, Toronto, and we're hoping to have a beer with him actually down at the pub, the Brazen Head, very soon.
We are very happy to have a beer with anyone. If you do see us down at the pub, not hard to miss. You're going to see 2 very pasty white Australian guys in the corner.
One of them probably wearing a hat and sunglasses.
Yeah, mate, well, I do work
That'd
on
be
Saturday
you.
nights. Yeah, but
one of us wearing a bad 1980s retro rugby league jersey.
Yeah,
but that's what it's all about,
we
right?
thought about going down there and approaching a few people with the microphone this week, but I mean, it was pretty early in the morning, and people were having breakfast with. If you do see us in the corner, maybe you'll be able to pick us up if you're even within earshot, you're going to be able to
just come and say hello.
Come say hi.
We're all about having a chat, and we talked to a couple of great fans from the north of England who have actually been living in Toronto for a few years. And one of the gentlemen that we spoke to had a Workington Town shirt on, and he'd actually driven 3 hours to come and watch the game. So how good is that? I mean, people are coming from all around Toronto, whether they're English, Canadian, Australian, other parts of the world, because they just want to come and be a part of this. And that's...
If he had to drive 3 hours, he had to leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, roughly.
Yeah, he would have to leave by 7 a.m.
That is just...
How many Tim Hortons do you reckon he passed on the way that he stopped at?
Probably a couple, for sure.
He probably doubled up on double doubles.
Then went double the speed.
Well, hopefully not.
No, if you do see us down there recording, we're going to take this recorder out a little bit more of the...
We'll be the idiots with mics in the corner.
Yeah, you'll see us. We tried to record it without the mic last week, and it was all right, but we got the clanging of too many plates and cutlery in the background. We'll have the microphones in the corner if you do want to pop in and say hello, and that goes pretty much to anyone. If you've got anything you'd like to say and want to join us in this in any capacity, let us know. We can call you up. We can make a call. We can go live. As you know, we like to keep it casual. We like to chat. We like to have a bit of a tangent on things.
Well, it's all about just having fun, right?
That's right.
It's all about wolfing around.
It's about wolfing around. So if you haven't seen it yet, we've got our SoundCloud is still up, Wolfing Around. That's where you can download the episode just in case, maybe you can't stream it. So maybe you'll download it and throw it onto your phone or whatever. You can also now catch us on YouTube. We've got that up there because, that's a preferable listening experience for a few people, and we've actually submitted to iTunes this week at the request of one of our listeners. And look, we'll see how that goes.
Well, hopefully we get up there. Hopefully you've said nice things about Steve Jobs and all the boys there.
Yeah,
God rest his soul.
Well, there you go. That's the one nice thing we say.
I don't know too many rugby league fans that wore skivvies, but hopefully he's got our back.
We've got so we're covered on all fronts there. If you ever struggle to see us, look. Hit us up, get in touch. This is a conversation, essentially, at the end of the day, and we're really looking forward to summer. You are going to see us at the games walking around with the microphones. Come up and say hi. Tell us what you think. And if we do mispronounce something, don't be afraid to call us out.
Don't be afraid to tell us.
Yeah.
Because we're open to constructive criticism. So thank you particularly to all those English fans out there who told me all the things I pronounced incorrectly.
When we absolutely butchered.
Whether it was Sedal or... I'm trying to think what else King Stone, Presley
Stone,
one.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We're just a couple of...
Just getting going, and I've already put in, a couple of $100 in the hole thanks to my purchases.
Thankfully, I did pass my English test for Canadian permanent residency, but I do not profess to speak the Queen's English. So
we send this message of love and communication out to everybody out there, whether you're in the UK, Canada, wherever, all over the world. Get in touch, stay in touch, tell us what you think. We really enjoy doing this each week. Really looking forward to the game next week. We'll be back with another Wolfing Around. Scotty, thanks again.
Watch out, London Broncos.